Do you think you could speak about your relationship with ETC over the past 2 years in the lens of being the CEO of IOHK? Has that relationship grown apart? Thoughts on the future relationship? I got involved in ETC for philosophical reasons. It was the accidental project. I was deeply disturbed because I've told this story so many times. I don't even think it's worth going into all the nuances and details, but very succinctly, there was a social contract when the ICO occurred for Ethereum. And there's a lot of cowardice in the Ethereum inner circle. People didn't even want to say, is it an ICO or not? Like when Joe Lubin gets interviewed, did Ethereum do an ICO? Can't give a statement. Why? Because he doesn't want regulation. It's like, okay, Joe, I know the game. Fair game, but come on. In some cases, you call a spade a spade. It was an ICO. They raised money. Great. And there was an unclear social contract. You had the Bitcoin people coming in saying, we want better Bitcoin. We believe code is law. You created funny words like illegality. Words matter, philosophy matters, and immutability is important. Then you had another group of people that came in and said, we want to do stuff, DeFi, we want to build things. And it's an experimental platform. You got to change the platform, and we're going to make mistakes and screw stuff up. Now, what was the ratio of code is law versus move fast and break things? We didn't know. And so my opinion was, if you take $1 from those people, even if it's 99.1, you are defrauding at least one person when you suddenly change the whole social contract of the system. And you cannot do a vote with 8% participation on a knee-jerk reaction and say that is a justification to do something. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. So I said there needs to be both options. You have an Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, and the foundation should support both, and let the community decide which one they want to support. And you will see through hash rate and market capitalization and deployment on the chain which way to go. And had they done that, the market would have probably still chosen the same outcome, which was 80-20 or 90-10 in terms of market capitalization, hash rate, and other such things. Fine. So I put my money where my mouth was because they weren't willing to do it. I spent $1.5 million of my own money building Mantis and hiring community managers like Christian Severino and Carlos Ficari. And then later on, I hired Kevin Lord, and we created Let's Talk ETC, and we did tons of things in that ecosystem. And then I created a plan. I wrote it all down. I said, guys, if you want to innovate, I wrote blog posts and said, this is the direction we could go to clearly differentiate our community and ecosystem from Ethereum. We can't say we're all following Vitalik's original vision if we're created as a divergence from Vitalik. It's like this bizarre thing, like when the Meiji Restoration was happening in Japan and the samurai were rebelling against the government, but still supported the emperor and said they're rebelling for the emperor against the emperor's government. It's like, come on, guys. You just can't do that. You have to carve your own path and go down your own way. And that was not really accepted by the Ethereum Classic community. They didn't want to do a treasury. I got brutally attacked by some members of the community. They wrote these bizarre articles saying it was a hostile takeover and a coup. If we were attempting the hostile takeover or coup of the Ethereum Classic community, we would have just simply hard forked and said, deal with it, pound sand, and fractured the community and used standard PSYOP techniques to drag people with us. It would have been easy to do that, but that wasn't the point. We said, this is what we'd like to do. And the community said, no, we don't really want to innovate. We don't want to change the EVM very substantially. We don't want to change the consensus protocol. We don't want to do things that are distinctly different from Ethereum. And I said, okay, well, can we at least get some funding for Mantis? We spent $1.5 million of our own money to build this client in Scala. And at that point, it was the only client that was built from the ground up, 100% new code, specifically for ETC, full node for ETC. And at one point, it worked on both Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So we actually were an Ethereum core developer as a consequence of this. We even paid to formalize the EVM through K. We spent $250,000 on that. We give all of this to the ETC community, and they say, no funding. We're not going to give you any money. And in fact, we're going to give you partial funding. And Bob Summerwell had the balls to say, I would look petty if I demanded 100% funding. I'd only get a partial subsidy to work on ETC. He's literally sent this to me in an email. I could not believe reading these things. I'm like, guys, I've carried your water for you for years. I built a client from nothing and paid for it myself. And I gave it to the key community for free as a starting point. And I also have a beautiful roadmap we could use. Can you please subsidize at least supporting this particular client? And I say you get a partial subsidy. What are we supposed to do? Just be a charity case for the rest of time with a project that doesn't want to listen to these things and wants to go in a different direction? They have every right to go in a different direction. But if we're not really able to contribute or collaborate and nobody's going to really pay us to do anything in the ecosystem, then why are we there? What value are we providing other than to make people who don't like us in Ethereum money who happen to hold on to their ETC? It's just a stupid thing. It was just a crazy thing from that perspective. And I tried very hard to build good relationships there. And I tried very hard to find peace and a way of getting that where it needed to go. And you know what? They figured it out for themselves. It's a stable community. There's some good people there. I actually like a lot of the community members in ETC. And I get along with a lot of the community members in ETC. And we have no animosity there. It's just there's no commercial interest for IOHK. There's nothing we can make money on. And it makes no sense for us to deploy dApps on Ethereum Classic. Why? We'd have to write them in Solidity on a broken design model that we've already determined through tens of millions of dollars of research does not work. And that's why we built Cardano. And that's why we wrote Plutus and Marlowe and the extended UTXO model. We literally spent 4 years painfully working our way to a different model for dApps. So we won't be able to build any dApps on Ethereum Classic because they're sticking with the EVM. They won't even go to Yella, a better model, a much, much better model. So there's no dApps I can build that make any sense. There's not a lot of network effect there. There's not a lot of people using this. So there's no network capture where I can get people from that. So what do I gain? You know, where's the business model for this? Yes, I philosophically agree with it because I was there in the beginning and we had an unclear social contract. Everybody deserved the option and people chose and they went off on their own side and now they're very divergent projects and they have different leadership and different people. Great. But mission accomplished then. The moral obligation was met and I put my money where my mouth was. I spent over $1.5 million of my own money, more than most people will see in a lifetime. And no one paid me for it. And my thank you from that community was, well, okay. And then I think to myself, okay, if somebody came into the Cardano ecosystem and spent $1.5 million building their own wallet and independently contributing and helping us out and providing a really cool roadmap, I would invite that person to my ranch and I would cook them bacon in the morning. And whatever they wanted to do that day, if they want to go horseback riding, they want to go to, the Estes Park, they want to go drive the mountains in my cars, whatever, we go do that. I'd be like, this dude is nice. This is a good person. We should keep and value these people in our ecosystem. There are people in our ecosystem that send me recipes for venison. And I read their letters out and I take the time of day to acknowledge them. And that's a small thing compared to that contribution. And what do we get for it? Nothing. So it's not a good community in that respect or a welcoming community in that respect. And it deeply bothered me. It really did. It made me sad because it felt like unfinished business and it felt like we really legitimately could have done something great. So we still have a team that writes Scala code and they're doing super cool, amazing things. And it's so sad that those amazing things that they're doing will not benefit the Ethereum Classic ecosystem. They'll just do something else. And it's very soon the world will see that innovation that they've done. But it's just one of those case studies where people shoot themselves in the foot and it's a consequence of poor governance and a lack of respect for some desire to unify around divergence, to get out of a safety zone and go somewhere real. And it's just sad. And we thought about it a lot, and we tried. We went to Vancouver, we went to Korea, we went to Hong Kong, we went to all the summits. I really honestly tried and I met everybody there. We really tried to build relationships. And I'm sad that those relationships are not better. That said, we learned a lot. There was incalculable value working on Ethereum Classic with that parallel Scala team, because while it didn't slow down Cardano, this is another one of those idiocies of Molten Tar Monster. They believe that somehow because we had developers from a totally different company writing in a totally different program, language, totally different management in a different part of the company using different funds, that somehow slowed down the Cardano delivery. Would that have made Aggelos write the Ouroboros papers faster? No. Would that have made the programming language people develop Plutus faster? No. What it did do is it gave us a deeper understanding of where Ethereum was at, so we could better compete with it. So it was industrial espionage in that respect. We knew where all the bodies were buried after we built an Ethereum wallet because we had to build it. So every little workaround and bug and problem and little thing that was a moral hazard or a technological hazard in that design, we could then take all that knowledge and give it to the guys designing Plutus and the guys designing Cardano and say, hey, look, let's not do that. We would have not been in that position had we not built Mantis. So there was an enormous value that we gained out of the construction of Mantis. I'm just sad that Mantis never got bigger. Everybody who used Mantis, overwhelmingly positive response to it. Was one of our fastest project, our most transparent project. If you go to the IOHK YouTube page, you can see weekly videos with Alan McSherry and his team every single week, systematically saying, this is what we plan on doing, these 4 stages, this is where we're at, and this is what we did this week. Developers, go. 7 developers, every one of them. What did you do this week? And they do a little demo. Demo after demo after, for a year and a half, they did that every week. It's just amazing transparency on that. And it worked with both Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. And it was 10,000 lines of code for a full node. The most concise Ethereum client ever built by any team. And we built it for $1.5 million. They raised $18 million and they barely got something out of the door. So I was very proud of that. And I was very sad about where that ecosystem went. And I was very sad about some of the blog posts that were written and how we were treated by ETC Dev, and where they would actually repost these clearly slanderous blog posts over and over again, just for fun, and they just kicked us in the teeth just for fun. And I'm just thinking, like, we're here to help, guys. If you treat your allies this way, what the hell are you going to do to your enemies? But you live, you learn. This is how, being a CEO is about. You have products that don't quite go the way you want to go. You can always find a silver lining somewhere. You can always find a light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. You always can move on and do greater things. And actually, because our participation in Ethereum Classic wasn't as successful as we needed it to be, it gave us a lot of time to think about better ways of doing treasury, better ways of handling social dynamics, and also a lot more stuff about ways to create more network value for Cardano. So ultimately, it was a better benefit for the Cardano project. I'm just sad that for that particular group of people, we weren't able to do more for them. That said, they're doing their own thing, and they got their own ecosystem, and ETC is now its own reality, and it's able to govern itself. So from a decentralization viewpoint, they seem to be perfectly happy where they're at. And so as a result, we wish them well. We really do. And if there ever was an opportunity for us to come back in and there was real funding available, not this, we'll give you 70% or 60% and you have to do it on a shoestring budget and nobody can speak English. No, it's real funding. We'd actually come back in and at least get Mantis to work and follow a conservative roadmap, because I really do enjoy writing software in that ecosystem, even if it's flawed.